Okay, welcome to the recap. So I'll go over what I saw today. So right off the bat, I have B-ADJ off here. So with that off, we hit this monthly fair value gap. Here you can see a bit better. So we hit this little monthly gap. So I was pretty much bullish from there. If you look at the daily, we did have, let me get rid of this. Or we did rebalance this daily range here, and then we had this daily fair value gap. So we're kind of just bouncing between two PD rays, like we're still pretty much in this range. But I was leaning pretty bullish because if you look at ES, we just have all these stacked highs, right? And then I just expected previous day high as well. So this was yesterday, closes above this high. So previous day high is pretty much my draw. Same thing on ES. So this was yesterday. Here's previous day high, right? And then on the 4 hour, we had this 4 hour gap still holding. So before open, we came down, hit the CE of this 4 hour gap, swept this like 4 hour internal low, swept London low. So was pretty much wanted to see this 4 hour range hold and just take something up to previous day high. On ES, it was pretty much the same idea. Swept the 4 hour internal low. But the thing I didn't like about this, and the reason I didn't want to long this, is because if you go to the 1 hour, like we just edged this 1 hour gap, which I would have wanted to see open, trade lower, resweep this low, and this was also data low from Trump saying something. So this here, right, just edges this 1 hour gap. So I want to see this get hit. But this still made sense, right? We were holding, you can see we're holding the CE of the 4 hour gap here. Right, and then on ES, I would want to see, we did have a 1 hour on ES as well. And this 1 hour candle had no wick, so I just want to see this get hit. Would have been nicer. And yeah, this wasn't great, but it's still, you'll see it's still delivered. And then another reason I was more bullish is because, so you can see pretty much it looked like London just manipulated lower. Where is this? Okay. So here's London. Yeah, it just looked to me like it just manipulated lower, swept out the 4 hour low, and still is holding this 4 hour gap. And we had equal highs with London high. And you can see pretty much Asia just accumulated. Here's the manipulation. And we also had 1800 up here, right? Not much trading above 1800. We were rejecting it at first, but this kind of just looked like the manipulation, like to me, if we're going to still hold this 4 hour gap in the 4 hour range. I didn't really see a reason to be bearish other than this getting edged, but we don't necessarily need to tap into that. We can leave it. This was data low, but we don't necessarily really, there's more reasons to be bullish because of all this. And like we were kind of getting reaction out of this daily gap, but I didn't care too much about that. And these were equal highs, so that was like the first easy draw. But yeah, I just waited for 10 a.m. because open didn't really look great. So let me go to 10 a.m. here. So yeah, open just traded higher. Here's 10 a.m. All right, so at 10 a.m., if you look at the 1 hour, right, this was super bullish. We had this 4 hour gap get inversed right here. we closed above midnight open. So super bullish, expected higher on ES. Same thing. We were about to take previous day high. But this was so weird because this 1 hour candle just has no wick. So I didn't like that for longs. That looked super weird. And then pretty much a few minutes into 10 a.m., we sweep out previous day high on ES. So I gave it a few minutes and I wanted to see previous day high get swept. So here we sweep it on ES. And we also tap into this little 1 hour, this tiny little 1 hour gap over here. So, and we also swept the 9 a.m. high here. So seeing that, we had this SMT, right? This was a good place for ES to reject after sweeping out previous day high. And then here's the SMT, right? So it actually looked a bit better on ES because we had more of an area to reject, right? Because we swept out this, but we did have this SMT, and then after seeing that, I wasn't sure. But then I saw that we had this little internal SMT, and we also swept the 9 a.m. high here on NQ. So we had this SMT here, right? And this isn't really like a good manipulation. It's just this one candle. But I did see that we pretty much like inverse this leg here. So we make this little 1 minute order block right here. The main reason that I took this is just external and internal SMT. I pretty much just use ES as guidance. So like this looked pretty clear to me and I entered right around here. Yeah, I didn't wait for this candle to close, but I entered like while it was forming and then went break even at this low. Yeah, I think so. This made a lot of sense to me. Right, we had confluences for it. It wasn't like super A plus because you can see there's not a whole lot for NQ to really be reacting out of here. Like there's no 1 hour gaps. It would be nice if we tapped into like this new day opening gap. We were kind of just like in the middle of nowhere here. And yeah, obviously this is like super bullish. But yeah, this is what I took. And then, okay. It doesn't want to load. I think this is also, yeah, there's also a little 5-minute rejection block. So looked pretty good. We were holding this little 3-minute as well. So yeah. And then I just wanted this 15-minute. This is kind of a stretch, not gonna lie. This 15-minute down here, that's what I targeted. Alright, so I just want to see this run. Sweep out these lows. Where's the 15? It was somewhere around here. Something like that. But I got break even on this, so I'm gonna break even pretty quick once we swept this low. And then I got break even right here. Crazy break even on this candle. Stopped me at break even and then kept going for a little bit. And then what I did is, not gonna lie, I was kind of mad about this. Getting stopped like break even to the tick right here. So then I pretty much expected this 1 minute range to hold. I also looked at ES and it was pretty much just dumping. So I expected like this to just pretty much be high of day. And maybe I got a little ahead of myself. I just expected like a huge dump because this 1 hour candle had no wick, which I thought was really weird. And I want to see all this, which is like so much of a stretch. But yeah, I just re-entered kind of randomly. This was not the best. Yeah, it was right here. Wait, yeah. So this 1 minute a little rejection block out of this like tiny 1 minute range, right? For some reason, I just expected this to hold, and it got stopped out right away, as you can see on that candle. And then I was like, all right, that was a pretty bad trade, not gonna lie. And then I was like, okay, maybe we're gonna come back up to 10 a.m. And I figured, we were rejecting midnight open, but I was still really confident. I was getting too cocky. Like I was still super confident that we're just gonna dump. So I was like, I'll take my chances. Like the RR on this would be still really good. And then ES was like obviously rejecting 10 a.m. here. Like it looks so much better on ES because we have this as like the manipulation leg. Taps into this little 1 hour, sweeps previous day high, and we inverse this whole manipulation leg and respect 10 a.m. And I looked at the 15 minute, right? And this just looks like the manipulation leg. It looks so much better on ES. This just looked like the manipulation for the 1 hour candle. Right, so I pretty much just re-entered. I drew the fib on this leg. And I just put my entry right around OTE. I think I actually market ordered this, but I wanted to see this SMT still hold. So I had my stop here and targeted. I still wanted like all these lows, but I did end up closing early. I can't remember exactly where I entered. I think it was pretty much pretty much on this candle, I think is where I entered, because I saw this 1 minute candle closed bullish, but I pretty much figured it's gonna turn into a 1 minute rejection block out of OTE. We didn't like, it would be nice if we actually tapped 10 a.m., but it's a bit too premium, I guess, for us to get all the way up there. But this was just like discretionary. Like I was just like, all right, this makes sense. I don't know how else to explain it. But yeah, just entered on when this closed, pretty much. Like, yeah, it was something like this. Yeah. And then what happened is I went break even pretty quickly. I think once we inverse this 1 minute and I moved my stop above this little 1 minute high. And I just wanted to see us dump from here. But what actually happens is you can see like we had this little reaction off midnight open. Here's midnight open. And we tap it again and we're still reacting off of it. And I was like, this is just gonna chop. And then we also had like a little SMT with this low. So I just closed here because I closed around here because I still held on to it. I was like, maybe it'll still deliver. But I think I closed on this candle here. Once I was like, okay, this SMT right here could hold. So yeah, these trades were pretty discretionary, not gonna lie. The first trade was the best. Like this made a lot of sense because we had the two SMTs. I was pretty sure about this. Um, I was pretty upset to get break even on this. And then the second trade was just, I don't know. That was not ideal. Yeah. This one, it was calling my name, you know? So I took it, closed early. So this was like 1 to something. When I closed it, it was about a 1 to 3, I want to say. Yeah. I'll pull up like the executions real quick. Let's see. Wow, this looks so bad. Let me see. Here it is. So first trade, break even. Get that break even. That's crazy. second trade, third trade. Entry on the third trade was really good, not gonna lie. Maybe I got lucky today. But this looks so choppy. It looks so bad. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I took. And then from there, looks like we go higher. Interesting day. Yeah. So I think, like, technically, it makes sense to be more bullish here. Like, with this 1 hour candle closing. And you could consider this, I guess, this tap into midnight as like your long entry. If this is going to be your manipulation, this makes sense. Just unfortunate chop. You get another entry here on this 1 minute out of this new day opening gap. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.